So the OnePlus Nord has been probably the most hyped phone in 2020. And the best part about it is that it's a mid-range phone. So is it worth the hype? Is it really living up to the expectation? Does it provide a flagship experience? That's what we are here to find out today. So this is Shreyas, and let's take that out. So let's get started with the review. Let's look into the build first. I feel the build is really good. Yes, the frame is of plastic, but mostly it's glass on the back, on the front, and that makes it feel like a very premium phone. The plastic frame is something I do not really like. I think they could have included a metal frame, like this was really cheaping out, to be honest. But the plastic frame does help with shock absorption on drops, but it will be more prone to kinks and dinks when you hit your corner against the wall or some hard surface. Also, the paint will probably chip off whenever it comes in contact or scratches against a surface. So that's something you should keep in mind before buying this phone. Talking about that, the case included in the box is really good, and the quality of the screen protector is way better than the 8 Pro as well. The case fits really tight, and I really like it because it covers all the corners pretty well. Also, when you keep the screen side down, the protrusions in the case keeps the screen off the surface you're keeping it on. So I think that was a small little good touch. The screen protector is fine. I'm really happy coming from the OnePlus 8 Pro because that was horrendous. It was very soft and just scratched very easily. This is harder than that and way more scratch resistant and sticks on pretty good and was well applied as well. Next, let's talk about the display. The display, I'm happy to say, is really good. The brightness levels are very good. Coming to the specs, it's a 6.44 inch 1080p 90Hz OLED display. Now I feel this particular spec of display is really good, and coming at this price point is a great thing because most of the high refresh screens are mostly LCDs. Other ones are OLED displays but 60Hz. The phone also has wideband L1 certification, so all the streaming sites support 1080p. It also is a HDR enabled screen, so HDR content can be streamed on it as well. Another small thing I really like is that the bottom bezel is way minimal and a little bit smaller than what Realme offers, and that is something I really like because most of the phones do offer kind of a similar display, but the screen to body ratio I feel is a bit higher over here because of the lip being a bit smaller. The other thing I want to cover is the earpiece quality, the mic quality and the sound from the speaker. I'm happy to say the earpiece quality is really good. I took various calls and long hours of calls, no problems at all. The earpiece is loud and clear, crisp. I used it on Airtel voice over Wi-Fi and it was really great. The mics are also very good. The callers on the other end did not complain at all and said my voice was loud and clear. I tried it myself giving this phone to someone else, and I realized the same as well. Coming to the speaker, it's a mono speaker. Only one phone in this price range has a dual speaker setup, but I feel it's fair enough at this price range. But the one thing you should take care of is that at 100% volume, the sound is a bit muffled. It's very clear till the 80% volume mark, but above that it gets a little muffled. Although the highest volume of the speaker I felt was pretty high, so even 80% I feel is a good experience, and at that particular sound level I think it does a very good job. Now I want to talk about the haptics. Now here I want to say I was pleasantly surprised. Knowing that this had a coin style vibrator, I was like skeptical about the haptic experience, but I'm pleased to say that this has a really good haptic experience, especially for the price. The haptic feedback is very crisp and short. The only thing I would like to nitpick is probably the intensity. It's a little bit less, but I feel since it's a coin style motor, they had to tune it very much, and bringing down the intensity only helped it being more crisp. Otherwise, it just rattles the whole phone, especially I have that experience with my 60. So I'm really surprised and glad that they did so with the haptic motor in this phone. Okay, now performance. Performance, I'm glad to say that day-to-day performance, there is no issue at all. I did not notice as big a difference as I hoped to. You can also check my speed test comparison, which I will link in the card above. So do check that out and you'll know how the 765G performs against the 865. The only disclaimer I would like to give out to the people buying a phone just for gaming, please do not buy this phone because this is not the best phone, especially at this price, to go for. You have the K20 Pro or the Realme X3 series, which has the 855 and the 855 Plus respectively, and I think those are way better at gaming performances, and there are other reviews that covers that in detail, so you should definitely watch those as well. Otherwise, I feel that the 765G has been put to the maximum use here, and Oxygen OS has done a great job of optimizing the whole experience and making it very close to a flagship experience in terms of day-to-day tasks. And I'm really happy about that. So if you want a good software experience and a good daily need phone, this holds up pretty well. Coming to the battery stats, this has a 4115 milliamp hour battery. I thought it was a bit small, but then again, I got really good battery life. It was giving me at least 6 hours of battery life and went up to 7.5 hours. 6 hours was on really heavy use, and I feel that it was a good battery life given that. Also, the good part is you get a warp charge 30T adapter in the box, so it charges up really fast as well. It took about 60 to 65 minutes to top up from 10% to 100% in my cases. Now, the thing I want to talk about and also request people and OEMs especially is that the camera setup. Let's cover the good parts first. The primary camera is really good. For photos, for videos, for low light, it does really good, especially in the price bracket, and I'm really happy about that. Especially video performance, I found really good and comparable, and sometimes better than the OnePlus 8 series as well. I compared it with the OnePlus 8. You can see my comparison, and another card should pop up right now for it. So I'm glad this phone has an ultra wide camera, but it is only 8 megapixel, and that is where I do not like that as much. The good thing about this ultra wide is that the color and the white balance reproduction is really good. Against the 8 also, you can see very clearly in the comparison test that this outperforms the 8 in terms of colors, but the resolution does let it down because a lot of details is lost. And in that case, even the 70 is a good option if you really want an ultra wide, because that ultra wide also couples as a macro camera, which is, I'm not going to count it. The macro camera is not there to me. It's 2 megapixel, it's pointless, and I'm not going to use it ever in my life, even if I own this one. Fourth camera is the 5 megapixel depth camera sensor, which is useless. So don't buy it for the quad camera setup, although most of the phones in this price range are quad camera setups and have a similar story. But yeah, I mean, there is no appeal to it just because OnePlus came out with a quad camera setup. You should also have an idea why the other flagship phones have less cameras and put out better pictures. So that's about it. Again, I'm really happy with the primary camera. The photos, videos, low light performance, everything is really good at it. Ultra wide is usable, but detail is an issue. So if you're looking out for details, especially in landscape shots or something, that is not the best option over here. The next thing I would like to talk about is the selfie camera. The selfie camera is good. It produces way sharper images, especially compared to the 8. You can look at the comparison again. There is also the second camera, and thankfully that's not a depth camera and is an ultra wide camera. It does come out useful. I don't know if you're really looking for crisp details in your ultra wide selfies, but it's good enough, it's usable. The only thing I really hate about all these cameras and across the lineup of OnePlus is the human subject color reproduction. The skin tones are just messed up. I do not like it at all. To be fair to the OnePlus Nord, the colors apart from the human subjects are better, even compared to the OnePlus 8 series, surprisingly, because there the greens etc. were also messed up. Here those are well done. It could work out for you, and I know a lot of people who would like this to happen in their pictures or selfies, but I'm not one of them, and I do not like this about the color processing on the skin tones of the OnePlus Nord. Next, let's go to Oxygen OS. Obviously, I feel OnePlus can sell this phone even though it has a plastic frame because of Oxygen OS. Oxygen OS is very well optimized, and with the 90Hz display, the animations are really smooth and tight. It was a great experience. You can again check my speed test to understand how OxygenOS also helps in making these phones well optimized per app basis. So I feel this phone is worth the money mostly because of OxygenOS, and I believe a lot of people agree to it. Finally, more people are realizing the importance of software and are opting for better experiences. OxygenOS, just for the price point, let me make it clear, no bloatware, no ads, and a really smooth and clean experience. This is where Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, Redmi just fail in front of my eyes, and I personally would never opt those phones given that this choice is there for personal use since I do not game. Now let's come to the compromises in this phone. The first things first, obviously the plastic frame I mentioned, and keep that in mind. The other thing, small nitpicks, I found the fingerprint reader to be very low and I don't really like it, but then again when I revisited my OnePlus 60 it had it in a very similar position, so I think it's just that I'm spoiled with the 8 Pro. Next, the mono speakers get a bit muffled at the highest volumes and I'm not a big fan of that. Another personal gripe I have is the human subject color representation. The skin tones are just messed up and I do not like that at all. The two meaningless cameras were better removed. It could have helped in adding a more bigger battery, or another thing, probably including a headphone jack. This phone, being a mid-range phone at a price of 25 to 30,000, does not have an headphone jack. A few other phones also do not have it, like the Realme X3 series, but still most other phones do retain the headphone jack. Cutting down on these two pointless cameras could have actually helped make space for it. A few other things I want to cover, which mostly I got in the comments of my previous videos. OnePlus Nord versus OnePlus 70. That is the hot topic, especially for people who want OxygenOS. Now, the OnePlus 70 was released in October 2019, if I'm correct, and I feel that it will go into the bi-monthly security patch update a lot sooner than the Nord will. Also, to keep in mind, if you are looking out for Android 11 first, I feel it will hit the OnePlus Nord first before the OnePlus 70. But that's where the OnePlus Nord advantages end. Because if you talk about the ultra wide, the macro camera, the telephoto lens, they all are present and are good qualities on the OnePlus 70. Primary camera I just praised is already present in the OnePlus 70 as well. Another thing you get is the Snapdragon 855 Plus, which is a great gaming experience, and I think that chipset will also age well. Given that you get the OnePlus 70 256 plus 12GB variant almost at 30,000, and especially if you exchange you could get it for cheaper as well. I think it's a great deal and you can go for it if gaming is your priority and you do not care about software updates as much. Now this is just my prediction based on OnePlus's pattern from the past, which I could be proven wrong and I hope so. If so, then 70 would be the best option, but that is a small catch that would probably stop people from getting the 70 over the Nord. Next is obviously Realme's own X3 series. The only thing I do not like over there is the LCD screen and the brightness issues. This panel is really bright and OLED. I love it, so I would definitely choose this over that. Apart from when your gaming is your priority, that is when the 855 Plus will shine, and obviously Realme X3 will become an obvious choice over there. Next is the K20 Pro. Now, this one is a dicey one because OxygenOS is cleaner and OnePlus has built a really good reputation in terms of software and especially updates. Now, K20 Pro being released a year back is a concern for me even more than the 70 being released last year, because Redmi does not have that good a pattern of supporting their phone software wise by giving updates, and that is where I will be concerned. So if that is your priority, and also the daily software experience is also going to be a concern, and that is where I feel that this will slightly edge out. Again, caveat, if gaming is your priority, definitely the 855 will perform better than the 765G. Otherwise, I think it's a clear-cut winner. Another USP, if you like, for the K20 Pro would be the notchless design on the front, the pop-up selfie camera, the addition of a telephoto lens apart from the ultra-wide and a good primary camera, and also a headphone jack. So that's all I want to say about these phones, and I hope I have cleared all your doubts. If you have any more doubts, you can leave down in the comments, and I hope you like my OnePlus Nord review. Please do subscribe and look into my other videos as well, which I have prepared. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.